Thank you, operator. Hi, this is Jun. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I guess so. Anyway, thanks to LBS, and I would like to take this opportunity to share some of my personal perspectives and observations, as our organizer mentioned, about how technology innovation changed the entire content industry. And I have already seen some very tough questions and comments on the previous panelists. I certainly welcome any comments or different viewpoints afterwards. So first thing first, a very brief self-introduction. I will consider myself as veteran in China internet industry. I started my career as investment banker about 20 years ago and helped many Chinese internet companies for overseas listing and financing and raised a total about 20 billion US dollars. Then in 2013, I moved to the buy side and subsequently joined iQIYI in 2017 to build iQIYI's M&A and financing franchise. I do believe that many of you have already known iQIYI, who is always being called the Netflix of China. True, I think that iQIYI is the largest internet video streaming platform for long-form videos in China, with hundreds and millions of users enjoying our service every day. So our content library, just to give you a sense, covered more than 30 categories, including dramas, shows, films, kids, documentaries, you name it. And if someone really want to have the challenge of watching these videos 24/7, it will probably take them 1,500 years to finish all the content. So in this sense, iQIYI also actively engage in the production and investment in original movie content. Our famous example is the popular show, The Story of Yanxi Palace, which was originally produced by iQIYI in 2018. Since I joined iQIYI, I think I have received numerous inquiries, mostly from my friends from investor community. Everyone is asking what opportunities and threats the technology innovation could bring to the content industry. Just for example, will there be any new forms of media, such as short-form video, to disrupt the entire long-form video market? What are the mega trends that one should expect in the next 3 to 5 years in this sector? So all these, I think, are great questions. I do not have crystal ball, as all of you do, to predict the future. But luckily, I think that we can find some of the answers by examining a very long history of art creation, and just to figure out what kind of lessons we can learn. Therefore, in this session, I would like to take music, a very specific form of the entertainment media, as a subject of the study. And our findings in the music history probably will apply to the video market as well. So if possible, we turn to the page 1, the Western music. Look at the Western music. Actually, it has played a very long role in the society, but in its very initial stage, it was primarily only accessible to the elite, who could afford the luxury to music's fullest form. The tradition of composing in residence for wealthy aristocrats, noblemen, etc., has existed in many cultures for centuries. The early 19th century saw the rise of composers such as Beethoven as individuals free of any commitment to patrons. Nonetheless, I think most of the work they produced was still primarily available to the aristocracy and remained for the most part inaccessible to the lower classes. So naturally, I think most people will blame social structure for this premium service for the selected few. But from my perspective, I think the more reasonable assumption is that there is no technology available to help people in the market, in the mass market, to access this entertainment in its original format. Performance by nature is driven by labor, and the deliverables, the final product, are actually extremely perishable. As a result, the productivity were very low. Just imagine you have a very wonderful chamber orchestra, but their performance will only be available who are invited into the room. In this context, I believe the first technology breakthrough, quote unquote, actually comes from the building of the first opera theater in Venice, Italy in 1637. And from when I think the general public has the privilege of enjoying the music by paying for performance ticket. And I think that from then on, one show can entertain 400 people simultaneously rather than just a house full of guests. Nonetheless, I think the productivity is still limited and output was not standardized. This is why each opera team have two casts to back up each other. Facing these problems, we have technology innovation, and then it comes the digital era. With the creation of gramophone and synthesizer, creative artists suddenly realized that their piece of musical work can be transformed into digital copies, which will in turn be purchased, accessed, and enjoyed by hundreds of millions of consumers. Music, they will be reproduced with a minimal margin cost. And this naturally translates music into what we call a cultural commodity, which became available to the mass market. As our key topic today, digital technology helped create this industry. In contrast to the public opera house, digital technology extensively lowered the cost to distribute the music to the general consumers, and also they solved the bottleneck of productivity at the same time. However, this is not the whole story yet. Now, if operator can kindly help to turn to the next page. When we get into 20th and 21st century, the internet and mobile devices became the mainstream. I think it suddenly disrupts everything. Before the advancement of internet, artists were directly connected for the most part with consumers. A boy makes a very deliberated purchase decision when he buys a Michael Jackson album. At least he used to. But when internet penetrates into the daily life of people, when it further facilitates music distribution, it also creates the challenge of disintermediation and also a heated competition. Two key observations. First, everyone nowadays uses iTunes or Spotify to play music. These apps, in another word, can be called actually the operating system for music play. They will extensively use data and recommendation engine to directly influence users' consumption behavior and decisions. A consumer nowadays is more committed to his or her playlist rather than a specific artist. In other words, the artists are disintermediated. Then the second observation is that the digital music can also be permanently preserved in the cloud, and it can be retrieved at any time, anywhere. And this content library at the same time is growing at an unprecedented speed. That means the competition for music content became more intense than ever. In this structure, how can a content creator actually respond? I think for the first challenge, the disintermediation, the content creators can try to make, again, the direct connection with consumers. For example, YouTubers, they can always accumulate their own fan base, while professional content creators can carry out the cross-platform marketing campaign. Nonetheless, I think we still see a very clear shift in the bargaining power toward the operating system, quote unquote. Probably only a very few select artists are immune to this mega trend. Then for the second challenge, there are two strategies actually to consider. The first strategy is to focus on the quality of the product, which is truly unique and differentiated. Let the product speaks for itself, as we always say. Then the second strategy is actually focused on production efficiency. One should make the best guess of what the market will need and provide the products at the cheapest possible cost in the fastest possible turnover. so that it can be easier. It will be easier for the content to go viral. And there are sufficient successful precedents for both strategies. I personally believe that the first strategy probably is more sustainable because it can accumulate brand recognition and eventually turn into consumer connection. And in that way, it will solve the problem of disintermediation as well. So by the way, this sounds very actually similar to the investment, where the investment professionals are seeding profits by two ways. Either they will take the contrarian position, or they will create a more efficient trading algorithm. For me, I'm still a investor in a classic way. I believe to invest in the right company and to do something that other people probably are not think otherwise. So under this framework, if we shift the focus from music to the questions that we discussed earlier, the long form and short form videos, etc., we actually can find similar patterns. From the demand side, one will easily argue that the long form video and short form video, they are competing for users' time span. But however, from suppliers' perspective, they are created under two very different strategies. For long form video, the quality and differentiation are the basis of competition. While for the short form video, efficiency actually is the key, because being copycat in the short form video industry is way easier than the long form video. So as these two strategies differ in nature, they in turn create very differentiated user experiences and actually complement, in my view, just in my personal view, complement rather than competing with each other. We have seen empirical data shows that when people watch more short form video, it is true that they spend less time on reading the book, but the same group of people will still spend 3 hours to watch Avengers End of Game, either in movie theater or online. So to summarize, I think we are looking at the history and speculating about the future. And personally, I'm convinced that technology on one hand play a very fundamental role in the history of media and entertainment development, while on the other hand, it also creates unique challenges to the content creators. Although these threats will eventually still translate into consumer surplus, which means they will encourage the improvement of the quality, although it means a tougher life for artists. With that being said, I will open the floor for the Q&A. So I think I have already collected a few questions on my screen. Let me read them out one by one and try my best to answer. So the first question I get is, what is the impact of coronavirus on the entertainment industry? I think the answer for that question is actually, it differs in terms of the services, in terms of the types of services that you are providing. Giving you some of the concept from demand side, i.e. from user behavior side, it's very easy to observe that for the offline entertainment activities, everyone suffers. If you are buying the stock of Disney, if you are buying a stock of the offline movie theater, you will see a diminishing revenue stream in the first quarter and second quarter of 2020. But for the online service providers such as Netflix, I cannot comment on the iQIYI as we are still in the blackout. But for the Netflix, who has already disclosed their user growth, etc., you will see an increasing portion of the users going to online to enjoy the movie and film services. But this is only one part of the story to discuss the impact, which is happening at the current tense. But there's another part of the story which we can only speculate, because the result will not be seen not until like 5 or 10 years later. I still personally, remember myself as a teenager when I first seen movies from Europe and from Hollywood. And I think at this point of time, because of coronavirus, so many people stay home. They cannot go out. And how to spend their time? Probably they will switch on the TV and select their favorite shows. And among millions of the users who are watching the shows, I do not exclude the possibility that one or two or tens or hundred of the boys and girls, they are get fascinated by the content they have seen, and they have decided to become the creator by their own. And they can create the content either in the way of the freelancer post their content on the YouTube, or they can decide to join a professional path and join the movie academy later. And these guys, I really hope they can become the driver, the true driver for the artist creation, in the next 5 to 10 years. Okay. So I think the second question coming from Yifang Pen, he says that as one of the generations in China, I wonder how do you view challenges, opportunities brought by Bilibili, since many people believe Bilibili is the future of streaming media platform. And it is not my habit to comment on other companies, but luckily, I think actually, before I joined the iQIYI, I do participate in the investing in Bilibili right before the IPO. And I think that Bilibili is a excellent company. And from your question, I have already seen that they have gained sufficient traction from the young generations, the Z generation, as you mentioned, which is a term, generally speaking, referred to the people born after 2000. And from my perspective, I think the success of Bilibili is a valuable experience for everyone else, including iQIYI, including ByteDance, including Baidu, etc. And what we have been doing are actually the same, exactly the same as Bilibili, i.e. providing the best user experiences to our users. And nowadays, iQIYI do have hundreds and millions of the users. I would say from the public data, if I remember this right, about 60% of the online audiences watch the online video. And we have a massive user base to serve. And this is our mission, to become a great company to provide the best entertainment services to our audiences through technology innovation. Okay, one more question from Xinzhou, who is also asking about competition. How do you evaluate the competition from TikTok? I think in my previous, I would say, prepared remarks, I think I do compare the short form video versus long form video. I think short form video do take the different strategies. If you open a TikTok, you will see a common thesis created by, for example, 200 artists using the same music track and doing the same thing, and try to attract audiences attractions. But this does not happen in the long form video market. The mission of the long form video creators, either, for example, a director who wants to create a movie, the first thing he has in mind is create something completely different, never existing in this world, bring new experience to this world. So I think that both are actually creating entertainment experiences to their audience in different ways. I think I pick up the next question come from Daphne Wen, who says that content is the key for any entertainment companies. What is the trend for content creation? Is this still IP based? I think this is actually a great question. I have very strong personal view, which might not be true. My personal view is that for any content companies, if you want to be valuable, you need to add to the diversity of this world. regardless of your success. If you are the same as anyone else, it means that you're losing the lifetime value. The challenge you always have is to create something not only means a commercial success, but also can be lived through live through the time. Will you still be able to remember? For example, me, I'm in my 40s. Would I still be able to remember a song that I heard when I was 10? Yes, I do. I do have two or three favorite songs I remember for my lifetime. And this is the impact to a audiences, the true impact. Although probably at that time, I only pay $1 or $2 for each song. The commercial success is not the only thing that matters. So the answer to this, my strong personal view is that content is the key for the entertainment companies. Making money is important, but the most important thing is to create something that can bring real impact to the audiences. So I'm scrolling down the question list. I see another another question. So this is a question. This is an interesting question from Lucia Zhao, who is asking, how do you see the heated yet transient idol elect shows? How is Chinese idol elect shows, or for example, the show we produce, the idol producer different from Korea top performers? This is really the question beyond my age group. I personally I adore these showmakers. They are extremely young. The directors I know by producing a show probably are in 30s, and they are enthusiastic. They know what the young people need. I personally cannot answer this question due to my limited knowledge, but I do testify that the young people in China likes these shows, regardless of where it is produced. As long as it's a good show, it will be appreciated. And the next question, I deliberately skipped two or three questions related to iQIYI as a company because I pardon to excuse because we are in the blackout period, i.e., we are in the between of the end of the quarter and the earning releases. So I cannot comment much on our company. But there are one question related to a general industry, which is, what do you think is the most sustainable way for online streamers to monetize their content? Coming from Jun Wang, I think the sustainable way, so far, I am looking at the online video streaming sites. They monetize through basically three ways. The first way is the subscription fee, similar as Netflix. The second way actually comes from advertisement, and this is very unique in China's context. In US, I do not think that Netflix will go down the path to pick up the advertisement revenue. But we do see some of the innovators such as Roku, who is looking for more diversified revenue streams. In China, it is very common to use a hybrid mode where it blended together the freely viewing content and the paying user only content. And for the free content, if you do not pay when you're viewing the content, generally speaking, you will watch the advertisement either before the show or in the middle of the show. Then in addition to that, we do believe that third very important revenue stream is actually monetization of IPs. Each show actually create a unique IP. And if you think this IP is impressive, it can influence hundreds of millions of users, you should actually put this IP into full use, either by commercial licensing into, for example, theme park as Disney do, or they can go to they can be adopted into another forms of entertainment, digital entertainment, such as online games. And IP-based revenue actually can be a very long living. We have seen successful cases, for example, Pokemon Go, who has developed their games for ages across different platforms. Nowadays, you can play the same game on Switcher, then on your mobile phone, and on the computer as well. Okay, so I think due to the time limit, I will pick up the last question coming from Yingnan Shu, who says that could you please give some advice for the career starters who want to get into the entertainment investment industry, like what kind of preparation we can made and what skills we should have. And I think that this again is very personal. I think you want to do the investment in the entertainment industry. The first thing is you have to love it in one way or another. You have to have the ability to differentiate the good content from the bad content. And in this sense, a pure heart of love is critical. It will direct you because the content actually in terms of diversity can be pleased to very different a very different personalities. Different people can prefer different content in multiple ways, right? So you have to make your own pick and own choice and to decide what kind of content is really good that you want to back up. And this usually means not only a judgment on the commercial success, this also means that it's a choice of the belief and lifestyle. So I think the good way to start it is to watch as many movies as possible and as many shows as possible, less so on preparing the financial analytical skills. And if you want a free iQIYI VIP card, just contact me and let me know.